This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by Next 1000. Time is running out to make the pledge. Inside this unnecessarily opulent, unnecessarily ugly compound, what I call the blogger's rights hearing is about to unfold. The hearing for blogger Christopher King will be getting underway in a few minutes. He wants to put a temporary restraining order on the campaign of Republican Kelly Ayotte for Senate. He wants to stop her people from interfering with his attempts to cover these Senate events, Senate candidate events, as an indie journalist. So what I'm trying to do right now is catch any Republican officials that might be going in to stop their restraining order. Is arriving now. We hit 10 o'clock. Time for the hearing. Better not slow you down, but you can talk to me as you're walking in there.
I sure will. Yeah, like I say, I'm pleased to be here today. We'll see what happens. As you know, they let me in yesterday at the rally that Kelly Ayotte had.
I better not hold you up, though, because it's getting close.
Yeah, they let me in yesterday, so that's a tacit admission that they knew they were wrong in the first place. But we'll see what happens today.
All right. Chris is the blogger who feels he's being harassed when he tries to cover Kelly Ayotte events. He refers to himself as more of an indie journalist than a blogger. I'm going to go inside now and start taking notes. Cameras are not allowed inside the federal building. Once inside the hearing, I noticed that the judge arrives relatively promptly. King lists her name as Landia Boyer McCafferty. She will prove to be something of a refreshing novelty in my experience with judges, but maybe that's because she's not dealing directly with libertarians. At least not on this day. She requests that the parties take 15 minutes to exchange documents and try and come to some sort of settlement so that a hearing doesn't need to go forward. On the left side of the room, as you face the judge, is Chris King alone at the plaintiff's table. His friend Sheila, a Massachusetts law student, sits in the audience with me. The rest of the room is filled with government workers and lawyers. Basically. I count 5 people sitting at the defense table. I should correct myself, actually there are 4 sitting up front at the defense table. A man named Gordon McDonald, who I believe represents the Nashua Republican City Committee. I can't remember if I'm saying that perfectly or not. I'd do better if they let me bring a recorder in the building. Brian Cullen is there from the Nashua Police Department, although I'm not clear whether he's a lawyer or a cop. An evasive but polite attorney who declines to give me her name. I find out later that it's Jennifer Parent. Then there is a charming but also evasive elderly attorney whose last name is Middleton. All but the Nashua police representative appear to be there representing the GOP, but I'm not clear whether they're just representing them as hired gun attorneys or whether they're deep inside the Republican Party. I guess the exception would be Mr. McDonald, who I do think represented himself as being with the Republican Party officially. I may have more details about the other 2 as I find them in my notes or on the internet as I get deeper into this story. Anyway, these folks square off against King during this 15-minute recess where they try to work out some kind of a settlement. but I'm not sure how hard those GOP folks are trying, because I think they're confident they can win. I can't hear most of the conversation, but Chris King reports that what he offered them as a compromise was basically, you just let me go to these Kelly Ayotte events, or at least, ask her a few questions, and we call it even. No restraining order, no hearing. Interestingly, before McDonald goes up to start talking with Chris King about this possible settlement, he looks worried. That, plus the large number of powerful people and high-dollar attorneys scurrying around the room, is kind of an indicator that a little person, just one member of the public, can still stymie the powerful from time to time in America.
The only reason you don't want me here... Manchester Police Department? Are you going to have false arrest?
Do you want me to call him or not?
Call him.
Speaking of powerful, a small, fit-looking elderly gentleman seated in front of me turns around, looks both surprised and happy to see me, and shakes my hand. He's the former head U.S. Marshal for New Hampshire, Stephen Monier. He indicates to me that he's been called there as a witness. Turns out he's now in charge of security, or was in charge of security, for the Kelly Ayotte campaign. Or maybe I should say for Kelly Ayotte. Not sure exactly which. Again, if I could bring a recorder in, I could be more accurate. He was involved in helping kick Chris King out of certain events that King tried to attend on private property.
Mr. Cullen, if Nashua Police Department is so concerned about property rights, why did the Nashua Police Department arrest Mike Gannon for videotaping on his own property?
This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by
Next 1000.
Hundreds of liberty activists have joined the Free State Project and moved to New Hampshire for more liberty. But what if we could get 2,000 here by the autumn of 2011? That's the goal of the Next 1000 pledge. Drop by pledgebank.com/next1000 and sign up today.
Next 1000.